What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. It is 3 p.m. And in this show, we're going to have to talk about a major problem. A pandemic taking the country and the world by storm. And that problem is people are making way too much money in crypto right now. The bulls are out of control. And it's time that something gets done about it. If you are suffering from too much money in crypto, please put a 1 in chat. We will reach out to you shortly to help you with that severe problem. And you're welcome. Guys, we have a lot to talk about today. Ethereum breaking back over 4,000. However, with the announcement that the Dencun update, the update we have been waiting months for, is now live, we are going to be looking forward to the chance that we hit new all-time highs on Ethereum before the Bitcoin halving. Of course, that's the positive news. We have some negative news about Ethereum as well, so you want to stick around for the entire thing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about CPI data and just what could the next couple of weeks, months, year look like for you. And guess what? Today starts out a new special Wednesday show that I'm very, very excited to announce to you guys. A good friend of the channel, an expert in the crypto world, Caleb Franzen, will be joining us every single Wednesday, and that starts today. So if that excites you and makes you feel like you're ready for this show, smash that like button already, even though we haven't talked about any crypto whatsoever yet. Smash that if you guys are excited. Caleb and T-Shroom, how are you guys doing today?
Well, better than I deserve, Tim. Caleb, how are you?
Good.
Doing fantastic, guys. Good to be here. Excited for this.
I love
Now,
it.
where are you tuning? You're in Europe. Where are you tuning? That seems like every time I talk to you, you're in a different city now. So this is exciting. It's the Where's Caleb watch.
It's true. I mean, the last time we talked was last week, and I've now changed locations. I'm still in Romania, but I'm in a town 2.5 hours north of Bucharest called Brașov, Romania. So it's very much more nature oriented, a lot more peaceful, a little sleepier. Oh, look at this. Yeah, so zoom in there.
Brașov.
There it is. Brașov. Exactly.
Wait, is that
There's
Caleb
a 2.5
right there?
hour train ride.
See,
Yeah, that's me. Exactly. Yeah.
Good. Is it okay? So that picture, there's definitely snow there. Is it snowing? Because it's still winter. Is it snowing there? Yeah, it's still winter. It's not spring
It's
yet,
been
right?
in like the 40s today. So it rained yesterday and today. I don't think we're gonna get any snow while I'm here. So knock on wood, that doesn't happen because I'm not really prepped for the snow. But yeah.
Well, very, very cool. Glad to have you with us. Before we jump into those details, we, of course, have to have our quote of the day brought to you guys by the amazing T-Shroom. He didn't get his own intro today, but that's okay. T-Shroom, what's our quote of the day today that's going to set us on the right path for success?
Tim, I'm bullish. The community's bullish. Caleb's bullish. We're all very, very bullish. We got to go with a classic. First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. And then you win. I think we are very close to crossing the finish line of winning. I feel like I've already won.
I 100% agree. Caleb, what do you think about that quote? Are you going to back that quote for the day? Is that an acceptable quote?
That's like one of the best like long-term investing quotes for Bitcoin, right? I mean, we've been hearing that one for years. It's still true today. I don't think the fight is even close to being over. I don't think that they're done laughing at us. But hey, it is what it is.
I think they're going to join in. And that's, I've had this conversation now with several of my friends in the crypto world. Caleb, out of curiosity, because I know, so T-Shroom's first investment was pretty much borderline buying the top of Bitcoin up there in the 60s. My first purchase of Bitcoin was back in 2020. So my first real bull market was the 2021 bull market. When did you enter into the crypto world? I think I've asked that before, but I've already forgotten. When was your first crypto purchase?
It was November 2020, 17,000 and change. So that was when I got in the BTC. I think my first ETH purchase was at the same time. I think I got in around, if my memory serves, I think it was like between $500 and $600.
Yeah. Okay. That with us, all three of us being in the same area with the same bull market, I was talking with friends. I think that a lot of us and a lot of the people in the audience probably relate to this. We suffer from PTSD when it comes to Bitcoin, right? We're here in the bull market and everyone was screaming 100K, 100K, 100K. And of course that never came. But here's the thing about that quote, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you. And then I've heard it differently. It says, then you win. It says, then they join you is what I've always heard. And the way I like to think about it is, 2009 to 2013, the first 4 years of Bitcoin, right? who knew about Bitcoin? My first time ever hearing about Bitcoin was like 2015. So I didn't hear about it. It just wasn't a well-known thing. They ignore it. Then 2013 to 2017, they laugh at you. Of course, that's when a lot of us did hear about it, but it was kind of considered that funny internet coin that all the computer nerds were talking about. You saw it on TV shows. TV shows would make jokes about putting all their money into Bitcoin. Who's laughing now? They laughed at us. Then, of course, the bull market we got into, the 2017 to 2021, that was the fighting stage. We saw, Elon, of course, first, agree with it, and then he dumps his big bag. We saw China funding it. We saw the massive, of course, the reason Elon dumped in the first place was the massive fight of saying that it's an economic disaster. The governments worldwide were fighting us. But now that we're in the bull market between 2021 and 2025, we should be in the phase that they're joining us. And guess what? We have some of the largest institutions and investment banks in the world offering Bitcoin via ETFs. They're trying to fight to get Ethereum here. We're going to talk about that here later in the show. But is this the bull market that they join us, and that PTSD that we have from the last bull market where everything didn't go as high, is that going to potentially diminish our bullishness to where the prices actually go way higher than we're expecting, but our PTSD of all the FUD makes us give really low price predictions? What are your thoughts, and what's your hypothesis on that?
I think Bitcoin is a really interesting asset, and that it's always going to have doubters. It's always going to have critics. It's always going to have people. I mean, just look at what happened a week and a half ago when we hit new all-time highs and we had that, flash crash back down to like 59K. People were taking victory laps during that decline, basically mocking Bitcoin bulls and Bitcoin investors for experiencing yet another, 15+% drawdown. And it's like, are you guys dumb? We've been in this asset now for years. We've been buying it when we were sub 20,000. We're up 3x on our investment. And you expect us to cry because we just fell 10,000? And then the irony above all else was the fact that we immediately got back to new all-time highs within like 24 hours, right? It was just laughable. So I don't know. I think Bitcoin as an asset class, when so many people are sidelined, when so many people have been outspoken against it as an investment, investing is weird. I talked about it with T. Shroom when I was on the show a week or two ago. People stay like they just dig their head further and further in the sand. They double down on bad ideas and on their prior theory instead of just adapting, changing their mind, and being open to new ideas. So, I feel like it's just going to be a perpetual fight with Bitcoin in a lot of ways, and slowly over time, more people are going to quote unquote join the fight. But yeah.
Well, did you see that? But speaking of which, did you see that picture of Peter Schiff and his crew over there when somebody asked him about Bitcoin? I don't know if you saw this picture yet.
Dude, I love this. That's exactly right, bro.
That is.
I swear to God, for him, it's just a marketing play. At this point, he's so deep, and he knows he gets so much attention. He knows he gets so much engagement out of it. Like, I would not be surprised at all if someone told me he owned a significant position in Bitcoin, because it's like, he understands the thesis. I'm like, I'll get off my high horse there, but
no, you're right on. I'm in the same camp as you. I think there's a lot of these Bitcoin fudsters out there that secretly own massive bags, and that's just part of the manipulative play, like JB Diamond, for example.
Sure. And here's one thing that's crazy too. MicroStrategy now is a top 3 holding in the Russell 2000. So if anyone owns the Russell 2000, if someone owns IWM, the ETF, they own leveraged Bitcoin. So, people have exposure without even knowing about it.
Yeah.
True. Well, we're going to get in more. Guys, this was the intro. We haven't even gotten into the meat and potatoes yet. So if you love the intro, you're going to love the show. Really quickly, again, these Wednesdays with Caleb Franzen are always going to be a little different. We're going to get to inside the mind of the long-haired Caleb Franzen. The longer the hair, the smarter the man. So do not cut it, Caleb, whatsoever. Let's check out what the markets are doing.
Thanks,
and then we're going to get in and let...
Dude.
That was...
just when I was having a good day.
Yeah. Well, you do say you're often doing better than you deserve. Let's go ahead and take a look at CoinMarketCap.
When have I ever said that?
We're going to get back into some of the charts and everything. Bitcoin up 2.35%. Nothing crazy, but back above 73,000. Again, you guys know we're on the hunt for 75K is our next target for the bulls to hit. Very excited. Ethereum, going to be a big topic in the video. back up above 4,000. Not necessarily up a lot on the 24 hours, but the news coming to Ethereum with the Dencun upgrade has come, and we're going to be looking forward to what Ethereum could do. But let's look at the biggest gainers in the top 10. We're talking about BNB continues to be on a tear, up a 2x in the last 90 days. So
Dang.
BNB doing very good, approaching, man, we were below 300 not that long ago. I guess before 90 days, though, because we're talking about the math there. But we're about to be above $600. I still remember when we were below 300 and everyone was saying BNB was dead. That's just nuts. Should have invested in that a lot smaller, when the price was a lot lower. Solana having a decent day, up 7.5%. There I go, picking the wrong coin again. Of course, I did an AVAX update today. Go check that out after the video is over. Tomorrow, more than likely, I'll do Solana. Now that it is back up to one of our targets, 160. I think the next one we're looking at is 180, though. We'll have to go check out those charts maybe in a different show. I'll show those tomorrow. Cardano's back up to 75. Let's see what else we got. Toncoin. Now, I believe T-Shroom, you talked about Toncoin a little bit this morning, right?
That's right. Yeah. So there was an update on that. There's some rumors starting to spread around that they may be IPOing. They might beat Ripple Labs to IPO. We'll see. It's yet to happen. That's for sure. But it was up on the news. It was definitely up on the news. I think I was going to the bubbles really quick. Let's see. Yeah. It's down here up 17%. Yeah. But I think it was up as much as like 25%.
And that's what it looks like right here. Is down on the hour, but almost 20% here. Biggest gainer of them all, though. Dog with hat won't go away. This coin, Caleb, I want to get your take on memes real quickly. Are there any memes you've been watching that you're interested in? I don't feel like you cover memes that much. You seem like too serious of a guy, but have you been following this dog with hat and some of these other meme coins? And what are your thoughts there?
I mean, I got in a bonk at like 13.
So yeah, you are.
And, I sold it at 40. It's like 4 zeros and then these numbers, so it's like 0.00013, and I sold it at 0.4. Yeah. And I am actually in a trade on that right now as well. So I got in on that this morning at like 2.8 something, and I think I'm up like 7%. So, I'm getting involved. I'm just trading charts. I really don't care what's what. I know a little bit about, the fundamentals or the narrative at play. And I think the meme trade so far, to me, seems like the biggest narrative along with AI. The question is, how long does it stick? So it's dynamic. It's going to change. But I think if the wave is here, you have to ride it, and when the music's playing, you got to dance. You got to look for attractive risk reward entries. And if you have an opportunity, take a swing. That's what I've been doing. Yeah. The last time it worked out for me, this time it might not. We'll see.
Here's your question for you, Caleb. Can Bonk make it to a cent? Right now, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 0. We got to get rid of 2 of these zeros.
No chance. Not a chance.
No, the supply probably is just crazy high. What do we got? Oh gosh, that's million. Is that trillion? Hold on.
Yeah, I think it's in the trillions.
93 trillion max supply. Yeah, that's going to have to do some special stuff if it's going to make it to a cent. Not going to lie. Let's take a look at some of the other big gainers, though. Dog with hat, Pancake Swap, Jupiter is up. Jupiter is one of those newer coins that we've been tracking a little bit here, having itself a nice little day. Let's see if there's any big losers on the day. Not really big. I mean, our biggest losers only down 6%. Sats, 100 Sats is down 6%. Ordi, ooh, there you go, T-Shroom. There's your meme coin, down 5.5%. But there we go. Avalanche, of course, after having a great day yesterday, and then I make a video on it today talking about the next levels it can get to, is down 5%. But that's okay, guys. That is okay. It's still going to make it up there. WorldCoin is in the biggest losers, and Injective. So we got a couple coins here in our portfolio in the red, but we do have a couple in the green here as well. But that is the market open of the day. Let's get back into details here, starting off with some chart stuff. Now, Caleb, they've gotten to hear mine and T-Shroom's thoughts about what Bitcoin could be doing, what some of these altcoins should be doing. But I would love to get an insight into your head as to what the next couple of weeks, maybe months look like, maybe leading up into the halving event. Where do you see the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum getting to, especially in light of some of the recent news, like Ethereum's upgrade that we had today with Bitcoin and the massive inflows that are continuing to pour in to the space? What are some of your targets and what are the things you're looking at in your chart that we need to be aware of?
Look, I'm pretty much bullish on everything. To really just kind of boil it down, we're seeing a lot of different statistical signals in total 3 minus USDT minus USDC. So basically looking at the altcoin universe minus stable coins looks fantastic. And it has for some time, right? And so as we kind of continue to stack this bullish evidence upon bullish evidence upon bullish evidence, literally for 12 months now, it's you just don't want to overthink this, right? You really just want to left curve this, and you want to control your risk as much as possible. And so I think that for me, being really as a short-term trader in the altcoin universe and really a long-term investor in something like Bitcoin and kind of a hybrid for something like Ethereum, my short-term targets just continue to get blasted, right? So we get there and we just launch higher, right? Maybe we consolidate along the way, we form new setups, and then we go on another leg higher, right? And so the definition of an uptrend, the definition of a bull market is higher highs and higher lows. And take your pick at pretty much anything. We're seeing higher highs and higher lows. So the bias has to be to the upside. The bias has to be to think big, to dream big about what these coins could look like 1, 3, 6 months down the line. And I don't see a need to be defensive in this market. However, I do still see a need to control and manage risk, but that's ever present. That never changes. At no time ever should you abandon risk management, right? So that's kind of my overall view on things. We can talk about targets for cycle peaks if you guys want. But on a short-term basis, I think I've set my targets for some things. We get there, we reset, set new targets. We get there. It's just, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Now, out of curiosity, because something we've been doing here recently is kind of having, especially now that we're in price discovery mode for Bitcoin, right? You can't use technical analysis to say, well, at this level before we had this many people buying this, we're in price discovery mode. So there's only so many things you could use to kind of pinpoint the price levels. But what you can do is be very aware of potential levels for pullbacks, because that's ultimately what people are asking right now. Am I too late to buy Bitcoin? Can I still get into it? What are those good levels to look at? What are some of your, what are you thinking in terms of, right now we're overwhelmingly bullish, but something you mentioned is we're bullish because we're continuing to hit higher highs and higher lows. Ultimately, the goal is to be buying those higher lows. For you, maybe give us a couple targets of some higher highs you think could play out, and then higher lows that you're looking potentially to be adding to your bags at.
Yeah. And if you want to share screen, you're welcome to it.
Sure. Yeah, we can go over that. So I think I have a cycle target for Bitcoin at 175K at minimum. I'm willing to entertain price targets higher than that. And the reason why I come to that level is every single bull market peak, if you take a Fibonacci from the prior cycle highs to the bear market lows, the next cycle highs, the current cycle highs, go to at least the 161.8% when you're using it on a logarithmic scale. And we've seen that time in, time again. And so right now, when we do that from the 2021 highs to the 2022 lows, we get to 174, 175,000. So that's why I'm saying that's basically my base case minimum target.
In case anyone's wondering, and Caleb, you can share your screen too, but if you want me to share, I can show them what you're talking about right here. He's talking about Fibonacci, guys. He's talking about going from the top of the bull market to the bottom of the bear market, and then it's like the golden pocket of Fibonacci extension, that 1.618 to 1.65. Look at that, coming in at 173. This is what Caleb's referencing here. Dead on. That's a great target to be watching in terms of technical analysis when you're in discovery mode.
Yeah, I like it.
Exactly. And so for me, when it comes down to doing TA or finding, those potential higher highs, it's hard to tell, right, where we're going to go in the short and the intermediate term, right? So for me, I just like to really zoom out on that. And then how I handle this is I buy breakouts. So for us right now, getting to new all-time highs, this is a buyable opportunity. I bought at 63,000. I bought again at 68K. After we hit those higher highs and after we had a little bit of a brief reset, right? So I think you have to kind of have the conviction here that every single time Bitcoin has hit new all-time highs, we're in the bull cycle. We are in the uptrend. And, I think you guys were talking about this a week or two ago, referencing what happened, I think, in the 2015 cycle, where we had 230% drawdowns after just hitting all-time highs or getting right next to them. And so should we expect a little bit more volatility around this area? I think that's a totally safe assessment. But for me, I like buying the breakouts. I'm a breakout trader, even on a short-term time frame, because it gives me a really clear ability to manage risk. So I'm not necessarily even looking to buy the higher lows because I'm not sure exactly where that's going to settle, right? We can plot out different support levels, dynamic levels, EMAs, so on and so forth. But for me, I'd rather buy the breakouts.
It makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I guess you're saying like with this breakout, you just bought here more recently as we broke out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
sorry, I'm trying to get back here really quick. If I can share my screen on this super fast.
Yeah, I think if there's a share button, there's a share
Yeah.
button next to it. Yeah, you go. And then T-Shroom should have it.
Yeah,
Let's see here. Okay, T-Shroom,
Boom.
you got
There
it?
we go.
I do. Send
Got
it.
Okay. So this is Bitcoin monthly candles. And in the lower bound, we're looking at the 36-month Williams percent R. 36 months might sound weird, but that's exactly 3 years. And so what I'm looking at here is every single time Bitcoin has pierced above the overbought threshold, which is this upper bound level right here, when we get this cycle oscillation into that level, we go on to experience massive gains each and every time, right? And so when did that just happen? The February monthly candle close. So we are literally in the first month of this signal being confirmed now. And I'm not, look, we've already seen a solid extension here so far. Now we're trading above 73K, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the bull market is on, and that's the time to be buying uptrends. That's the time to be buying breakouts. And this looks fantastic. Is it guaranteed to work the same way it did in the past? Absolutely not. That's why, again, manage risk. But when we're looking for statistical ways to analyze the universe, to analyze the market, to analyze probabilities, this certainly continues to stack evidence in favor of bullish outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
And sometimes, so I like what you said. You like to stay on the left side of the curve. For folks who don't know, I found a little illustration that says this pretty well. Over here it says, I buy because number go up. And this is the left side of the curve as well as the right side of the curve. The hyper-intelligent, wise one, as well as the not so much, right? But the guy in the middle is the one who loses, right? It's the pretty intelligent guy, but just kind of becomes his own worst enemy. Says, this is a local top. Bitcoin RSI is in a double top, plus the dollar is deflating. Bitcoin is at risk on asset, and markets could collapse, right? And in some sense, this is a compelling argument, right? But it shouldn't be. You should be thinking with one brain cell, left siding it, right, and say, I buy because number go up. And right now, that's just the way that a lot of folks are making a lot of money. Does that mean you turn your brain off completely? Of course not. That's jokes, but in some sense, this really is easy mode. We've been through the bear market. We've been through hard mode. It is time to maybe spend a little bit more time on the pool deck and a little bit less time in front of the charts.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing to that, for the 200 people who are watching this live, it's like, I think all of us fall on either end of that spectrum, right? And so it's up to us. Like, yes, we are in easy mode. We are in a bull market. I think the sooner you accept the fact that could change any day, it could change any week. So you need to be constantly observing market dynamics. This is why macro is still so important. This is why moving averages are like all these different things, right? So it's up to us every single day to continue to validate that we are in an uptrend, that we are making higher highs and higher lows. But with that in mind, recognizing the trend is your friend, we're in an uptrend. Why fight it, right? I'm like posting this on Twitter every single day. People keep trying to fight this uptrend, calling local tops Bareth Soloway, right? It's like, come on, man. This guy's been shorting Bitcoin since it was at like 35,000. He keeps adding to his shorts. Like, dude, how many times are you going to get liquidated before you just start aligning yourself with the trend? It's unbelievable to me. So,
yeah, no, it's very, very true. What was the name of that indicator again? Just for anyone who saw it and maybe missed the name, I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to look that one up.
The Williams.
It's the Williams percent R oscillator. It's probably one of my favorites. I usually use it really effectively on a long-term basis. So if I'm looking at weekly candles, I'll usually use 52 because that's 1 year. If I'm using monthly, I'll use 12. I'll use 18, 24, and 36. So I'm really looking at long-term signal.
Perfect. Well, let's change subject here for a second. Let's go from Bitcoin. Let's talk about the big coin in the day news-wise, Ethereum with this Dencun upgrade. Again, I'm no scientist. I'm not the person who's going to be going into layer ones and building a bunch of stuff on them. However, this is supposed to solve a lot of the biggest problems in Ethereum, or begin to solve them. This should help lower some gas fees. Those of you who maybe trade on Ethereum and you try to get into Ethereum layer 2 or try to get into Ethereum projects, you're probably very grateful for that. It's also going to continue to keep it in a deflationary level. T-Shroom, I think you had a chart for us on what some of the benefits of the Dencun upgrade are. Yeah. But let's take a look at that, and then I want to get Caleb's take price-wise and what his thoughts are, because we're mixing this really bullish story with a potential bearish one. And T-Shroom, you're going to bring those up, and we'll kind of set the stage for the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. So today is a day to celebrate in some sense. Ethereum activates the Dencun upgrade, ushering in a new era for Layer 2 scalability. If you have no idea what Layer 2 is, we're going to throw one for the noobs here. This is CoinMarketCap's list of Layer 2s, right? You've got some of these that are in pretty high positions from a market cap standpoint. Polygon, Immutable, Optimism, Mantle, Arbitrum, Starknet, Manta Network, Loopring, Synology, just to name a few. Are there more? There's absolutely more, right? But the point is here is that there was a big breakthrough, and ultimately it's going to be very beneficial for the Layer 2s. In estimates here says Into the Block said a crypto data analytics provider estimated Dencun would reduce the price of swapping tokens using Layer 2 based decentralized exchanges by 80%. And of course, some of that savings is going to be passed on to Matic, to Layer 2s, right? And so in theory, their revenue should go up, and this should be bullish for the coins. Today, we've seen Matic actually see a nice little pop here. As I'm speaking, up 8.8%. Matic has been very dormant, right? But this is a story that really has kind of woken up the coin, woken up the Layer 2, and people are very, very excited about it. Now, that's the sweet end of it. But we do have another story here. So we've been able to pass this threshold of getting through Dencun, and in a non-Ethereum style, I will say. Usually Ethereum, as you know, historically they have issues when they're trying to, like in the merge and in 2.0, when there's always delays, right? This time, no delays. Very smooth, and you do have to give it up for the team over there at Ethereum for making it happen here. However, now all eyes are fixed to the Ethereum ETF. And on the 9 a.m. stream, I've been covering this pretty much every single day in depth. And today we got some troubling news here from the betting odds. The betting line here is 28% chance that Ethereum ETF will be approved by the SEC's final deadline, May 31st. Now, that's no bueno. It's not good. But today we kind of got good news and bad news. Yesterday, Eric Polkanis came out and said that it was a 35% chance as the official percent chance of this question from Bloomberg. So we got to throw it to you guys. Caleb, I kind of want to get your take first. Are you shaking in your boots about Ethereum? Do investors really have any reason to be skeptical here? And should their finger potentially be ready to hit that sell button at some point before May 31st?
No, personally, I don't think so. And, to be quite frank, I didn't even know about this upgrade until yesterday. I saw a headline about it. So, just goes to show you what I know about some of these engineering aspects and things like that, right? I just focus on price. And for me, price still looks good. ETH is in an uptrend. I see we're basically kind of coming back to those beginning of 2021, mid 2021 highs. So for me, this just looks like it's, kind of continuing to lag Bitcoin, which has been no secret, right? That's been the story over the past 15 months. And I think you still have to have an extremely strong bullish bias on Ethereum here for sure. So technical dynamics or not, set those aside. What is price doing? What are investors doing? How are they expressing their thesis and their outlook on this anyways? Because I'm telling you, I just found out about this yesterday, right? And so the market is the aggregate perspective and opinion of all investors who are probably much smarter than I am. So why would I try to come up with a new thesis when I can just monitor price, which has everything baked into it, right? So for me, I'm just going to analyze price.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
What targets are you watching for with Ethereum? I love the analysis, the way you're giving that. Are you using the same metrics as Bitcoin? What's your price level for you that you're saying, hey, at this level, I feel like I'm confident to start taking some profits on Ethereum?
So I just posted a deep dive this last weekend about my Ethereum price targets. Out of respect for the paid members of Cubic Analytics, I won't share specifics on what the numbers are, but I will say this. I'm not trying to do this in like a marketing way, I promise, but it's over $10,000 for my cycle target.
There we go. Yeah, and by the way, so for those who do not know, we've gotten to know Caleb. Some of you guys might be watching and saying, who is this guy? He's awesome and smart, but I have no idea who he is. He's been friends with us for a while. He's got experience that a lot of us wish we had. He used to work with people in Wall Street. He said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to get in the crypto world as well. He has a fantastic newsletter. So whether you just want a free one, we're going to start posting that, by the way, guys. We're going to start putting that down below because we really love everything Caleb puts out. At least go sign up for his free newsletter. It is some of the top alpha. I'll tell you this, and I'm not going to try to poop on anyone else's newsletter. I just want to tell you guys how great Caleb's is. A lot of times newsletters, to put them out, they're kind of vague information. Sometimes it's not actually the actual mind of the person you're watching. Sometimes it's like an intern or something else. And obviously, it also takes a lot of time to put thoughts into it. So a lot of newsletters, kind of vague information. Every single word of every single story you will read from Caleb Franzen's newsletters are coming straight from the mind of Caleb Franzen. He is even a conversation we had here recently. He's not hiring people. He's in a one-man team because he prioritizes excellence and he knows he has to use himself. So I highly recommend using his newsletter. If you love the free version, you're going to fall in love with the paid versions. And then here more recently, again, he just launched his Patreon here a week and some change ago, and he's already probably too full. He probably doesn't even have any slots left because that's how good the information is. Highly, highly recommend you guys, even if his face is not on the channel, picture Caleb Franzen as another bro. You got to get in on his alpha. Cannot recommend someone higher than Caleb's takes.
Love it.
Appreciate you, bro.
And if you want to get those price targets, you got to go over there and subscribe. The links are the first links in the description for today. So that is really awesome. Well, we've got more news. Ethereum is big. It's the biggest thing right now, that Dencun upgrade. Obviously huge in the dev space. Not a whole lot when it comes to traders, although it is seeing a pop, especially in Matic and in other layer 2s. But in general, it's not causing a huge move higher or a huge move lower for crypto as a whole, as it has in the past with the merge and other Ethereum events. But moving along, we have a very, very big headline here, Tim, and this is something that if you've been paying attention to the news, you may have been anticipating here. TIK TOK, Tim. TIK TOK, 6 months isn't very long to sell off your China-owned parts before getting banned. That's right. Breaking news, TIK TOK bill passes final vote. The yays were 352, the nays 65. Democrats were the majority of the nays. However, this to me is not a partisan story at all. The fact that it was this unanimous, to me, says that there were threats and are potentially currently threats to national security coming from the availability of TIK TOK to the American people. It's either that or it's a bunch of gaslighting. I wouldn't put it past the government and a bunch of politicians to do that as well. However, this is a pretty big story. I'm glad, for one, that we have not really invested a whole lot into growing into TIK TOK. Of course, there's a bunch of great communities over there. Definitely not to throw any shade. But anyway, I don't know that you all really have too much of an opinion on this, but Caleb, what are your thoughts here? I mean, they've tried to ban it before. Do you think that the Chinese are going to divest of this, or do you think there's not a chance?
I have no idea. And I'm kind of laughing about this too, because I had a friend who's pretty big on TikTok. He's got several 100,000 followers, and he's like, man, you got to get on there. You would crush it, like all this stuff. And I had like a 30-minute conversation with him today, like picking his brain about how to go about doing it. And now all of a sudden this bill gets passed, So maybe it's a sign, right? It's like, as soon as I step into the game, it's axed.
We got to get at some point. I'll let you finish here. We got to get Joshua Jake to come on the channel at some point. Of course, he's one of the larger crypto TikTokers. He's, of course, in building here with me here at Hit Network. I had a long car ride with him, and I'll tell more about what we talked about. But look, you had more to talk about with an article there, T-Shirm, so I'll let you kind of dive into that, and I'll give my take.
Well, I was just highlighting it. And just to be clear, the ban is not instituted right now. They have 6 months to respond to this. I went ahead and tweeted to this the date that we'll be keeping our eye on. The big day will be Friday, September the 13th, of this year. Right, if the Chinese do not divest by then, right, this is literally a vote in Congress, which these people cannot get anything done, no matter how high their incentives are. The fact that they were able to get this done, voted through, it's all the way through. This is big. This is a big deal, and people have a lot of freedoms when it comes to their phones. They're not going to be used to this. Americans do not like being told no, and in 6 months, there's a chance that they'll be having to reconcile with not just something that they're physiologically addicted to. Also, it's like you guys both pointed out, we all know people who are making money on TikTok. What's going to happen to them, right? Yeah. They've built their life off of an app. It's going to leave a lot of people potentially, without incomes, and it's going to be kind of scary. But that's the full coverage. We got 6 months. I guess the Chinese have 6 months, and we'll see. It's going to be interesting to watch this one play out. But like I said, Trump did try to do something similar to this before, and ultimately it kind of fizzled out from what I remember. But there is a ban currently on state employees of the United States government.
Yes.
If you're a certain level of the state, so I think police can have TikTok, but if you work for the federal government, you cannot have it, and you definitely can't have it on your state distributed phone. So just something to know. And that's also, it's not just the United States. There's other countries that have copied and pasted that policy for their state employees.
Yeah. This is a subject that, again, that's why I think it'd be good to have Josh maybe come on at some point and talk a little more about it with his experience. But he was telling me, so first of all, the first thing he said this, but I think it's a good point. If they outlaw in the U.S., right, they just make it so that you can't use a U.S. IP to run your stuff through, right? Could TikTokers just get a VPN and still create content? Sure. And could you still get a VPN and use it? That's the first thought I have is, there's still going to be, if anyone's worried that like TikTok, you won't be able to access it, it's like, well, you can use VPN. And by the way, check out a link down below for NordVPN in case you want to get ahead of the game with NordVPN. But the second thought is this. So we've all been told now that TikTok is a threat via the Chinese government to kind of get in and hack our phones, because we all know there's nothing more that China would like to do than get the inside information into a 13-year-old girl's brain, and that's how they're going to exploit the United States and take over. But ultimately, there's something – I want him to talk more about this. However, remember months ago when there was a huge deal in Congress and there was a huge, like, they were asking a bunch of questions and there was TikTok was in the news and there was a lot of crackdowns happening. I don't know the exact details, but something about it, there's a certain portion of TikTok that now is controlled completely 100% by the U.S. government, by actually what's happening in Texas. And the truth is, it's not China you have to worry about using TikTok to potentially find inside information. It's actually U.S. government. And a lot of the political harassment and manipulation has happened post the United States getting their hands in there. So ultimately, when I'm hearing these stories, and this is what Josh is kind of referencing, it's almost like the American government keeps wanting to say China's using it to manipulate when China's really not doing much to anything at all. In fact, you can find some of the most Chinese CCP propaganda on CCP stuff on TikTok. Is the anti-American stuff you can't find. Wouldn't China allow anti-American or anti-politics? Wouldn't they allow that stuff to continue to run? I'm wondering if this is a place so that the American government can have 100% control. That's ultimately what they're voting on. They're saying that the Chinese stakeholders have to give up their control. Who are they giving up to? They're giving up to the Americans. If this is such a dangerous tool, the ultimate ploy that they're actually trying to use is getting it to where the United States can use it instead of anybody else.
Yeah, it's possible. Look, it's possible. I think that the U.S. has a couple of different tricks up their sleeve to be able to monitor global, online traffic. Some of those tricks.
You really got to monitor those 13-year-old girls. You really got to know what they're into.
Some of those tricks go by the name of Google and Amazon and Meta, actually, which kind of brings me, Caleb. What is your take here? Just from a trade standpoint, is there money to be made with this headline?
I don't know. I think the thing that I'm most interested here, I have the Meta chart up right now on my screen. I feel like if TikTok was going away, and that means that advertisers in the US could not market their products on TikTok to US customers, meaning that they would have to transition that ad spend over to Meta, over to Instagram, over to Reels, so on and so forth. Wouldn't Meta's stock be up today instead of being down 0.9%? I know today's a little bit of a nasty day in this. I mean, it's not nasty, but I know the indexes are down in the US today. But I would imagine even despite that broader market weakness, Meta would be up on this news if the market believed there was a sustainable threat to TikTok going away. So like, as I look at this here, this market reaction is not giving me a lot of confidence that TikTok is going away in the US.
Yep.
Fair point.
Absolutely.
Fair point.
And of course, Wall Street and Washington, they're not like this, right? They're like this. So there's constant communication as to, how likely, I'm sure there's betting odds. I didn't have time to really think of it or find it. I'm sure there's betting odds on whether or not this is actually going to go through.
Right.
But ultimately, we do have 6 months. The Chinese have 6 months to divest. Whether you trust the American government or the Chinese government, ultimately, we want to move into a world where information is decentralized, right? And it's not just in the hands of a few gigantic corporations. Will that future ever be realized? I don't know. I don't know. But I know that apps like TikTok are definitely, some of the biggest perpetrators of hoovering up people's information, including minors' information. And that it's not clear, what governments do have access and don't have access to that information. And so, we'll see. We will see. But don't put it past Washington to create a news story just to distract from something else, or to maybe throw a little fat to their boys on Wall Street. You never know. So we'll see. But Caleb, you absolutely make a good point. You would expect that at least Meta, I could understand why maybe Google would kind of be diluted for their price per share, but you would expect Meta as a direct competitor with TikTok to be up today. I mean, people scroll on Facebook, they scroll on Instagram to no end. And, if TikTok was to go belly up, then, of course, the next best thing is probably going to be Meta, Instagram, perhaps Shorts on YouTube. But I do think Instagram has kind of a little bit more of a neck-and-neck competitor with TikTok at this point for that market share, that young, as Tim was saying, that 13-year-old, that 35-year-old. So ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see. We've got 6 months to do so. Yeah.
I think he's right on, though, looking at the Meta, because guess who took the biggest hit from the emergence of TikTok? I don't have anything on my screen, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But look who took the biggest hit from TikTok's emergence was Instagram. Well, who has the best bet in gaining, subscribers and viewers if TikTok goes down? Instagram. And so, of course, owned by Meta, they're part of that Facebook group. I think that's the exact chart to be keeping an eye on to see if people are getting some early access there, because they are the ones with the most to gain from the downfall of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fade Zuckerberg.
Don't.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that is going to conclude our news. That's really all I've got. Is there other news? Absolutely. But we do wanted to keep it light today so we could open up for question and answers. But Tim, we've got a brand new partnership with iTrust Capital. Tim, why don't you tell us a little bit about what iTrust is and how it can be a benefit to those watching?
Listen, a lot of you guys have probably already heard of iTrust Capital. In case you haven't, though, we've been teasing this now for a week or so. You guys can go right now in the description, sign up today with your link. Why should you get iTrust Capital? Well, taxes are coming along right now. And the biggest problem is with all the gains you're making in crypto from these bull markets, you're going to owe a lot of money, more than you would think, in taxes. And a lot of you guys are asking, how do I not pay taxes? And by the way, cheating the government's not one of them. We would never recommend it. And also, this year, more than any year in the past, I think you're going to get more caught than before. However, Roth IRAs, most people have heard of them. This is the number one company in crypto that you can build your Roth IRA with Bitcoin, with Ethereum. In fact, I don't even know all the coins, but you can see some of them kind of strolling up here. Most altcoins you can go ahead and put into a Roth IRA, and that means you put them in there after a certain amount of years. I believe it's 30, but I think there's different deals depending on different situations. You will be able to pull out 100% of your profits and not pay a single penny to the government. So if you are looking for a way to save your crypto gains and not pay them in taxes, iTrust Capital is the one for you. We're going to be making a tutorial video for you in the next couple of weeks, so stick around for that one. But go sign up today. You guys can invest up to $6,000 every single year for yourself, for your spouse, and the thing I'm going to take advantage of using your children as well. You can sign up for iTrust accounts using each and every single one of your children. If you weren't having children to sign up for more iTrust accounts, I don't know what you were doing. That's the ultimate goal of having more children. Go ahead and sign up today. Before we move on, again, a special shout out to iTrust. Thank you for
that's funny, Tim. To be honest with you, I'd never thought about that, but that is that's actually a very legitimate way to be able to allocate more than $7,000 a year to your tax deferred. That's awesome.
It's brilliant.
I didn't ever think about that. Now I want to have kids all of a sudden.
Oh gosh. Let's get into our factoid of the day, and then we'll get back in. And guys, start asking some questions. We got Caleb every single Wednesday. So every Wednesday, come in with some questions for Caleb Franzen. He'll have to be picky again. He has to keep some things in the bag for his Patreon members, but hopefully we're able to still get you guys a lot of alpha from the man, the myth, the legend, the long-haired Caleb Franzen. What is our factoid of the day today, T-shirt? What's the elf got for us?
Today we're going to do a rerun, Tim, because it was just such a big deal for us to hit 9,000 subscribers yesterday. We wanted to run the factoid again from yesterday. So, of course, everybody knows but Caleb what the answer to this one is. Caleb, In reference to the over 9,000 Dragon Ball Z meme, which famous fighter sported an over 9,000 t-shirt at WrestleMania 31? Was it A, Ronda Rousey, B, The Rock, C, Hulk Hogan, or Ricky Steamboat?
Oh my God. I am not going to
no
get
pressure, but
right.
I got it right, Caleb. No pressure, but I got it right. So.
And it was a guess. So
Yeah.
if Tim could logic it out.
I don't even know which WrestleMania we're on. So like, I don't know if this was a year ago, a month ago, or 10 years ago.
That's exactly what I said. Me here.
I'm gonna get this, man. Let's see. It's definitely not Ricky Steamboat. I'll tell you that much. Hulk Hogan, I don't feel like he's been active. It could be Ronda Rousey, but is she in it for the Dragon Ball Z culture? I feel like The Rock is more tied into the vibes. I think I'm going to go B, The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
All right. He's locking in The Rock. The Rock is usually a pretty good guess, but unfortunately today it is Ronda Rousey.
Oh, Ronda. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I guess I'm not coming back next Wednesday, guys.
Oh gosh, we like to have fun on the channel, but then we have people like arguments against, kind of sitting here pointing out that factoid means the thing that is widely believed to be true but is unconfirmed. So, I mean, I didn't know that was the technical definition of it. Dang. So that just ruined factoids.
Yeah,
for the rest of the
show.
We're
gonna have to take down all our episodes that we had a factoid in.
Yeah, we've been misleading the people with these factoids of the day.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. All right. Well, let's see. The price would show more tomorrow. Vide today. I don't know. KYK13. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Go ahead and guys start dropping your questions for Caleb. Before we get to some t-shirt, you see them. I wanted to ask Caleb, and this is what I'm probably going to use a lot of these Wednesdays to get to, because this is where he's, top notch. I trust no one more than Caleb Fraser on these topics. What should we be responding to? How should we be acting with the? Yesterday we had the 3.2% inflation rate. It was the
CPI.
What's the word for it? CPI data came out 3.2%, higher than expected. Some people view that as a bearish thing or a reason to be cautious. And a lot of the reason why is because most people were expecting that we'd be cutting rates maybe here in March, outside chance in May. What are your thoughts about the CPI data? I know you've been tracking this for a long time. What would you say to people who were concerned about yesterday's posting?
I mean, I think there is some reason for concern. I don't believe we're going to have a reacceleration of inflation, but could it stabilize around these levels above the Fed's 2% target, maybe above 3% for a few more months? It's certainly possible, right? And so, for me, I don't have much of a concern about this in terms of how it impacts Fed policy, because for me, my base case since August of last year is that the Fed wasn't going to be cutting rates until Q3 of this year. So, when everyone was talking in December of last year and January of this year that the Fed was going to cut in March, I was saying the entire time, excuse my language, but that's bullshit. And that wasn't going to happen. And so as far as I'm concerned, the market is finally waking up to what my thesis has been, which is that those cuts aren't coming until Q3. The thing from my perspective is the market was never priced for cuts in March. The market was never priced for cuts in May nor in June. When we look at something like the 6-month treasury yield, this is something I was talking about with T. Shroom not too long ago. It's still not showing us that cuts are coming in the next 6 months. So I think the fact that we've seen the odds of a rate cut go away, right? And we're essentially pushing that back further out. But at the same time, we've seen stocks continue to stay in an uptrend, hitting new all-time highs yesterday in the S&P 500, highest daily close ever. Equal weight S&P 500 hitting all-time highs last Thursday and Friday. The market would not be continuing to hit new all-time highs if it believed that cuts were coming that soon. So again, my thesis has been correct. The market was never priced for rate cuts. It still isn't. And again, my general time frame is still that we're going to be seeing those cuts in Q3 at the soonest.
Now we'll have two meetings in Q3. We'll have one in July, one in September. So one at the beginning of Q3, one at the end. Which month would you put as the one to keep an eye on? Are you looking early Q3 or that September last month of Q3 to look for it?
I think with the CPI data that we got yesterday, there was some cause for concern there. If you look at services ex shelter inflation, that's really been accelerating on a year-over-year basis, and I know that the Fed cares about that quite a bit. So I think based on the inflation data that we got yesterday, I almost even think July is out of the window unless for some reason we really see CPI really plummet here. But I would be looking more at September than I would July at this point.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Tisha, you had a chart pulled up. You had a point there.
Well, just Caleb, for folks who are unfamiliar with the 6-year analysis, when someone's got the 6 month, sorry, not 6 year, the 6 month yield rates pulled up here. This is a weekly chart. What am I looking for to kind of give me an indication of how the bond market is pricing in where we will get a hike?
So you mean a cut? So what's the yield right now on this? 5.2.
5.32.
5.32. Okay, so right now the effective federal funds rate is 5.33%, right?
Okay.
And this is at 5.32. So what that's telling me is that the market is not pricing in any rate cuts over the next 6 months. This continues to reaffirm my thesis. And so what we'd be looking for, because the Fed cuts rates by magnitudes of at least 0.25%, we would need to subtract 0.25% from 5.33. You get 5.08. So the market is priced for cuts once the 6-month treasury yield is trading below 5.08%. Until then, the market is not priced for cuts. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you could even overlay the federal funds rate here,
Yep,
and kind of do some analysis on there as long as it doesn't jump around and get all crazy. So what we're looking for is for the 6 year, goodness gracious, the 6 month to remain below the effective federal funds rate. That means that the hike is not imminent in the next 6 months.
Hold on one sec. So click on the right pane there, like right click on the y-axis and get it out of this percent gain. Yeah,
Okay.
right click on that.
Go to
And
regular.
put it in regular. Yep. That's
Okay.
what we're looking at here. So what we were looking at before is that the effective federal funds rate has risen much faster than the 6-month treasury yield. But when we're just looking at the actual percentage today, what is the yield on those instruments essentially? This is what we want to be looking at. So once we see the candles fall to 5.08% or lower, that's when we know that cuts are being priced in. Until then, if they stay generally right in line with each other here, right around 5.3, even 5.2, 5.15, cuts aren't really being priced in effectively.
Yeah. So with all of this, the last question here, then we do have one question in chat. We're going to be ending at 4:00 today, guys, because we do have our members only stream right after this in Discord. So all you members, make sure you're connected. Come join us over there. What's your outlook for the economy? Of course, you're bullish on Bitcoin, you're bullish on Ethereum, you're bullish on crypto as a whole, but that doesn't necessarily mean the economy will do well. Like you said, there was cause for concern with some of these recent CPI numbers. What is the Caleb Franzen take about the American economy right now? Do you think that there still is? Do we still have to pay the piper? Is that debt being at an all-time high really a big monkey on our back, or do a lot of people blow that out of proportion, and the economy actually does have a chance at having some form of a soft landing?
Yeah, so I mean, debt is at an all-time high, but what else is at an all-time high? Personal income, household net worth, assets, right? So when we actually compare,
everything's at an all-time high.
Yeah, exactly. And, we are a debt-based economy where the entire world is, right? So that's just the reality that we live in. We can complain about it or we can play by the rules of the game. So as we look more broadly at the U.S. economy, I've really been using 2 words to describe it for the past 12 months, resilient and dynamic, whether we're talking about the consumer, whether we're talking about the labor market, whether we're talking about real estate. I think even manufacturing in some capacity, certainly the service sector has been resilient and dynamic. And so again, why would I want to fight that trend? We continue to see evidence of strong wage growth. We continue to see evidence of a very low unemployment rate. We continue to see labor force participation staying strong. We're seeing disinflation. There are a lot of aspects to be really proud of for the US economy, especially on a relative basis versus Europe, versus China, so on and so forth. And so once again, the US is the cleanest shirt in a dirty laundry basket, which means we're only going to attract more and more capital from foreign investment perspectives. So
that's a good point.
I think as I look at the economy for this year, I expect it to still stay resilient, but I expect it to soften a little bit, right? So like, for example, the latest non-farm payroll data that we got last week, we saw the unemployment rate go from 3.7 to 3.9. I would not be surprised at all if by the end of the year we were closer to 4.5, but certainly somewhere above 4.2. And I think most people will hear that and say, oh my gosh, the unemployment rate is accelerating. That must mean that things are getting really bad really fast. But I think context is key, right? So 4.5% unemployment is still historically low, right? Like most times in US history have not been below 4.5% unemployment. So just because this is key, right? So for everyone who's on here, 183 plus people, just because something is softening doesn't mean that it's weak, right? So if it's going from a really strong base and just going to pretty strong is not weak, right? So we have to think maybe on a relative basis, things are getting worse, but is it bad? Not necessarily, right? We have to be nuanced as we approach this.
Yeah, I've got the unemployment rate here pulled up. As you can see, the pandemic definitely threw it for a loop. But unemployment rates have been elevated, and it's very cyclical, right? You can see it kind of moves in. These are basically, as I'm moving my mouse, it's about 10-year spans, peak to trough. And right now, I mean, you look 3.9. If I'd have been back here in 1992, I would have killed. If I was Alan Greenspan or whoever was the Fed chair at that time, I would have killed for 3.9. So it is absolutely a very welcome dose of perspective there, Caleb. Absolutely. As always.
I mean, it's certainly it's something to keep an eye on, right? But again, as we look at like the weekly initial unemployment claims data, that's still historically low. A couple of weeks or a couple of months ago, we were hearing a lot again about tech layoffs, the same thing that we were hearing in Q4 of 2022 and Q1 of 2023. And those never materialized, right, into any sustainable increase in the unemployment rate or otherwise. So again, things just continue to stay resilient and dynamic. Could that change? Absolutely. That's why we pay so much attention to the data, to continue to get a pulse on how the economy is evolving, because again, the economy is dynamic. It changes all the time. So our job as analysts, as investors, so on and so forth, as active market participants, is to continue to validate that the existing dynamics are still in place, right? Resiliency, strength, dynamicism, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
We have one question for Caleb. One question before that. We got a super chat. Thank you, Crypto Capstone. Said realistic price peak for Caspa in the bull run. I don't know, Caleb, if you put any thought into Caspa, have you?
Yeah, I don't know about it whatsoever. So you guys take that one.
I'm going to be very brief with it, and then we're going to get to the question for Caleb. Ultimately, with Caspa, I've heard from people that I respect toss around the $3 mark. I'm not going to make that judgment. I'm going to make a video probably in the next couple of weeks on Caspa for a big price prediction. Ultimately, here's what I'll tell you. It's going to come down to a couple of details. What I really am I'm going to tell you right now, my expectation for Caspa, I can't give you a price prediction, and it's going to be a big range. It's literally going to be a difference of 100%. I'm looking for Caspa's low end to get to $50 billion. That's kind of I think at least $50 billion is coming into Caspa. My high end is, do we potentially have an outside chance of making it towards 100 billion? Again, we're talking about literally the difference of 2x difference. That's pretty massive, but yet that's the range. Ultimately, if you guys already know the answers to where supply is going to be, I got to look into this stuff. I do some research, got to look at some partnerships and different things I have going for them. But my expectation, somewhere between $50 to $100 billion, will give you what that means for price later on, a couple of weeks. Caleb, as we wrap out the show today, a great question from Matt C. Matt C, of course, has been a big follower of yours for a while now. Said, I'd like to know from Caleb, what has been the most surprising thing he's discovered with his European travels?
That Eastern European women are beautiful and stunning. No, let's be real.
That's why you haven't come home yet. That's the problem.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The most surprising thing I've discovered, I don't know if I've necessarily discovered anything, but I think one of the perspectives that I've gained is like, especially growing up in Southern California, it's just like communism and, the former kind of like socialist era of Eastern Europe in a lot of ways was so far detached from my reality. And so when I'm here now in Romania, where they had the revolution in 1989, or when I was in Albania, Tirana, where I think the dictatorship fell in 1991, it's really surreal. Like I was born in 1995 and I'm maybe sitting on a subway or I'm riding the metro or I'm on a bus or I'm out at dinner or something. And, there's a 50-year-old person next to me or an old babushka or something like this, right? And it's like, man, this person was here during that period. They saw what life was like here under the communist era and under that regime. And I think that in and of itself is really interesting, really bizarre, because not only is the city itself so historical, but the people are also a walking museum of that era. And I think that in and of itself has been a really interesting lesson to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And Caleb, of course, kind of making a gesture to the beautiful European women, I decided to go ahead and pull up one on my screen. And if you're under 18, you may want to look away. But here's one of the most beautiful.
Okay. You know.
To be fair, I said Eastern European. She's French.
I love
Well, you dropped the ball there.
That's okay.
Well, before we let you guys go, because we're going to be wrapping up going to our members-only stream, we told you guys, now that we've hit 9,000 subscribers, we had to do an $100 giveaway, and I do have the winner on my screen who will be winning that money. Drum roll, please, T-Shroom.
Oops.
All right, okay. That was awesome. Kelvin 2222 Edge. Why are there so many dogs? Yeah, there's dogs because we love them. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for watching. Reach out to us, either on Discord or Twitter, if you can get a hold of me or T-Shroom, so that we can get your information so that you get your $100. By the way, guys, even though yesterday we crossed 9,000, we are already above 9,300 subscribers, which means we're getting extremely close to 10,000. We're going to do something very, very special for that 10,000, but make sure you got 700 more slots to be one of the first 10,000 subscribers of the Investing Bros. Get in now while it's cheap. The prices will rise from free to free. That's how YouTube subscriptions work. But with that said, though, Caleb, thank you for joining the show. We look forward to having you on every single Wednesday. Once again, guys, check out his newsletters. I believe, are they in the description, T-Shroom, or do we need to get them there?
Yes, the links they're the first links in the description after the iTrust Capital link, of which you should absolutely go check out as well.
Absolutely. With that said, though, guys, thank you for joining us today. We'll see the members over on Discord. The rest of you will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.